National Geographic has somehow contributed to this display. Labor-consuming but high profit. But the greater profit was in the hands of the man who owned this house. He dealt in the trade of these items. Okay, here's a painting that gives us the context in which the man who built this house made his money. Trade in the crossroads of this area, Plovdiv. We'll do a little Ken Burns on this and pick up some detail. I've seen the same thing in small towns in my travels on this trip. Trade going on. These would have been the traders somewhere in this picture, in the convent Karanavasari, or whatever that is that I visited. And here are the housewives or the trades ladies bargaining for the stuff that they have made in their various trades. The Muslim influence there. How alive is this picture with what went on in that day? Recognize the bird cage? Asia as well as here. Now here a relatively compact stairway to the second floor, but with some very pretty scroll woodwork on the banister. And perhaps that window would have opened up to a prettier view than we have now. And again, the stairway brings us in not only to a large room, but a beautiful and ornate large room. Here, instead of just having an oval ceiling motif of wood, very intricately designed, but notice how the ceiling curves down even more, indicating that we've got a large dome up there. Let's look more closely at the painting detail in the hopes that it might have been original. And the woodwork below that, notice right there, just coming into view. Maybe painted. But here were the dome interfaces with the flat surface of the ceiling, that pretty design, and a separate design for the square flat ends. The windows behind me are just vertical rectangles. Up in front are the same rectangles but on a curved face, a bowed front of the house, if you will, with what looks to be cushioned seats, making that an elegant place to sit and watch your neighbors walk by and the world. Notice the doors to the left, matching the doors to the right in the symmetrical home. A beautiful, beautiful structure. Here's some costumes of the earlier day. When I say costumes, I simply mean the kinds of clothing that these ethnic groups wore, maybe different tribal groups from the mountains. this would have been a very warm winter outfit, I think. What we would call a fleece, perhaps. Not fleece, but rather felt, unless fleece is an old version name for felt. Not the elegance that I saw in, I think it was Skopje. Imagine how these two beautiful alcoves that substitute for two of the doors would have held something unique, statuary perhaps. So let's start with this set of rooms that goes back deeper into the longitudinal, those crossways, orientation of the house. Which apparently just displays various kinds of fabrics and the patterns that were used. Interesting, this first time I've seen this, the various colored treatments of wool in the form of either blankets or rugs. God forbid they had allergies. They couldn't have had allergies. Again, these pretty doors that are lightly reliefed rather than heavy relief. So they're more sophisticated in feel, in my opinion, more gentle. This is interesting, a sleeping room, I guess. A ceiling that's ornate, but then the ceiling overlaid with another roof. Was that to give one a sense of more comfortable containment in this large room? Yeah. Could it have functioned like as a separate little bedroom, living home area for a daughter and her husband, or son and his wife? A family having dinner together in their traditional way. A center oven, stove, if you will, that provided heat for the food as well as for the people, perhaps, unless that's just functioning as a table. And then a common plate from which you would take what you wanted. This is not unusual.